You know why you're here. You don't need an intro. Let's get into the first question. Oh, I wonder who this is. Patrick Asdell. I'm not familiar with his work. What flavored Gatorade should I drink tonight? Light blue, orange, or red? I kind of like orange.
Winner. It is orange tonight.
I love that for me. I love being a winner. Well, I prepared a couple of segments today. There's some news, so let's just jump into the first one. The Bills fired offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey. I heard that this was a big deal. They're blaming him for the special teams problems. They're blaming him for Josh Allen's interceptions, James Cook's fumbles, and Gabe Davis's inability to hang on to the ball. I think we can all see that it was Ken Dorsey's fault, right? You could see that, couldn't you?
Last night was not Ken Dorsey's fault. The last year and a half, failing to make the move from great to elite was Ken Dorsey's fault. That offense has potential. Gabe Davis truthers liked Gabe Davis because they saw some talent in him.
What Gabe Davis truthers?
They're all gone now.
Well, they don't like me because I've criticized that Gabe Davis is bad. They probably aren't watching.
Stefon Diggs is a great receiver. Some would say borderline elite.
Some would say that the enemy carries a knife in the dark. That's what Stefon Diggs would say. That's your wide receiver cryptic tweet. He's going to delete all of his social media, delete anything about the Bills. That's what he's going to do.
I ultimately think it was McDermott's fault last night.
Well, everything is McDermott's fault. He's the head coach, so it all comes on him at the end of the day. If you're here, make sure that you're subscribed. I turned off the ability for non-subscribers to ask chat questions. So if you subscribe, if you're not subscribed, make sure to hit that subscribe button. You'll be able to ask questions. I appreciate all of the support from everyone in the chat. And just for the format of this show going forward, we're going to focus on your questions week to week. We'll see what happens when we hit the off season. I don't know. We're going to have to see. We'll have to see. I don't know. If there's demand for the show, we'll see. So the more questions there are and the more people contribute in the chat, the more likely the show is to continue throughout the offseason. My YouTube content will continue. That's not going anywhere. If anything, I have a big plan of content. I can reveal a couple of ideas that are going to be on the agenda for the offseason. A few things. One, we will do team dynasty breakdowns, not of your dynasty teams. Of that we could do too. That might be interesting. But that's another great idea. I just had that on the fly. I was referring to, though, we're going to look at it like the Arizona Cardinals, let's say. They're first in the alphabet. So we'll look at them first and then, whatever, move on. We'll look at all the dynasty assets on that team. It's going to go very well for SEO to do it that way because you get the people looking for stuff for that team. So we're going to have that as kind of a dynasty series throughout the offseason. We'll see how much I get done before free agency in the NFL draft, but that'll be something. We'll have some tiers and rankings lists and stuff like that. Essentially all the content that we did on the regular show. I'm going to do it myself because at the end of the day, people told me last offseason, we are not interested in your group videos. We are not interested in 2-hour live shows. We are not interested in trying to do content on the live show. So we're going to listen to the people. So the live show during the offseason will consist of your questions. We're going to answer your questions. And that's what we're going to do here. We're going to focus on that. We're not going to focus as much on show sheets. And I'll keep my show sheets to the pre-recorded content. So, the show goes with you guys. And I love you guys. And that's why I want to provide the best for you. But I think the mix of trying to do a recorded show and a live show at the same time has not brought success. So we're going to step away from that format, and we are going to bring you great videos. Caleb is giving me advice on how to do that. So we're going to have better lighting. We're going to have editing. We're going to have overlays. And we're going to have all these great things. Maybe we're going to have graphics. We're going to have videos. Let's take a look at that. We're going to see. We're going to see about that. But Joe Brady, where was I? That's why I don't like live shows. It's tough because I'm so much better with my prepared notes. But I do it for you guys. I do it for you guys so you can ask the questions in the chat. Joe Brady is going to be the new offensive coordinator of LSU fame. Matt Rule scapegoat. I think they're just making a change for the sake of making a change, but we'll see if it bears any fruit. Probably they'll get credit for any positive changes, even if that's not really why. So we'll have to see. There could be some changes. I wouldn't be surprised if Leonard Fournette is activated next week and gets involved with how bad James Cook did with hanging on to the ball this week. So we'll have to see. Let's get into the first question. So, hey, Patrick, go ahead and read the question.
Yeah, so we have a start-sit question. Need to fill 2 running backs and a flex between Gibbs, Swift, Pollard, Kupp, and Javonte Williams.
So 2 running backs and a flex. So I noticed that the expert consensus ranking was all over the map this week. It had Pollard way too high. So for now, I actually have Gibbs and Javonte, the 2 highest of the running backs, and then I'd play Kupp.
Mm-hmm.
So these are great options, though.
Yeah, if you're relegated to Kupp as your flex, potentially, I think you're in a very good spot.
Yeah, you have the luxury to sit Pollard and Swift. It's very good.
We got another pick 3 running backs. Pollard, Hall, Connor, Edwards, Chandler for this week, non-PPR.
Well, I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of questions about Ty Chandler, a non-talented running back on the Vikings. Very bad. Very overrated. Well, I don't want to say overrated. He's not really rated very highly. Not so good. So he doesn't belong in conversation with these other players. I would just go with the first 3. I mean, I know it sucks. I mean, Tony Pollard is not really delivered, but the volume's there. He's playing Carolina. Touchdown regression is going to come back to his side eventually, you would think. Carolina is such an easy matchup. I'll go Pollard, Hall, and Connor.
I mean, if you're chasing touchdowns, Edwards, but I don't want to sit any of those 3 to chase. Confidence score on Saquon Barkley rest of the season. Tommy DeVito got some garbage time, put up some numbers. Yeah. The offense started moving a little bit in the second half. What do we do with him?
What do we do with Saquon Barkley? Yeah. You probably play him because there's not that many running backs that get that kind of volume. For this week against Washington, I have Saquon Barkley ranked in running back 6. So I'm very different from, I think, what I saw in the ECR. Yeah, I'm going to play Saquon Barkley anyway because he's the whole Giants offense. And even bad offenses can support volume running backs. So I just think with if this volume proceeds throughout the rest of the season, you're never going to bench Saquon Barkley. So on that respect, my confidence score is high. With that being said, I mean, I'm not exactly excited about Saquon Barkley.
I'm not going on my way to watch Saquon Barkley play football.
Well, as a Giants fan, I really would rather not.
Yeah. I don't say this player's name because I think he's very overrated in general. So is that player from the Chicago Bears, like 4th string running back, droppable in redraft?
Yes, you can drop Roschon Johnson. He didn't do anything this past week, even with Khalil Herbert out. Khalil Herbert's going to be back this week, and I wouldn't be surprised if Roschon Johnson is a healthy scratch. Deontay Foreman was a healthy scratch before, but I think that's going to change. I mean, Foreman was ahead of Roschon Johnson this week, and I wouldn't be surprised if Johnson's out of the lineup entirely.
I'm excited for the Bears offense if Fields is back this week.
He will be.
Yeah, with Fields, you have a couple running backs that are doing well. DJ Moore is still being DJ Moore. And that offense is going to hopefully start clicking again with Fields back under center. Now, Trevor Lawrence. So we have this lead together, Tyler, where we do the Tuesday switch.
Yes.
I had to bench. I was 1 point away from having to bench Trevor Lawrence on someone's team for Clayton Tune.
Ouch.
Because Clayton Tune had a rushing touchdown and scored 6.1 fantasy points. Are we selling Trevor Lawrence?
No. I mean, in redraft, one QB, you can just drop Trevor Lawrence. There's nothing to sell him for. In redraft Superflex, you just keep him and start him as a QB2. He's still fine. So I assume this is a dynasty question. What can you get for him? I mean, he still holds value in that he's still a franchise quarterback. I talked about this on the 5 takeaways video, and I thought it was very interesting. I said we maybe need to reevaluate Trevor Lawrence. Look at him more like just a regular franchise quarterback instead of whatever you want to call it, a superstar franchise quarterback. But it doesn't matter because the Jaguars are winning. Trevor Lawrence has been a part of that, and he's going to get a massive contract extension, maybe not on the level of Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow, but it's going to be a very, very large contract extension. And I mean, he's going to be around for a really long time, and that's worth a lot. The touchdown regression has not been kind to him. I mean, he's been very unlucky. And there's been quarterbacks where we've seen this. They get very unlucky, and then the ship rights itself. But he hasn't been that great. Like, I think people thought there was going to be a huge step forward, and I don't know if that's happened. I think it's more of the same, which is good. I mean, he's been good. It's 67.3% completion. We're talking about, 9 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. That's the touchdown regression on 2,100 passing yards. That's very unlikely to maintain itself. But 235 yards a game, I mean, that's fine. For real life, he's getting it done. But for fantasy, it's not what we want. And I don't know if he's going to be what we want. Because if there was any year for the breakout to happen, I mean, it's year 3. That's usually the year it happens for a quarterback to take like that full final step. Quarterback breakouts outside of journeymen who move teams and then some reemerge. Your initial emergence usually is, if it doesn't happen in year 3, you don't usually become a superstar in year 5. Like, that does not usually happen. We can think of other people who've broken out in year 3 and became like superstars. Josh Allen is one for sure. Tua took a huge step forward in year 3. So my answer to the question is, it depends on what you can get.
I see him coming back down to like a QB9, QB10. He's getting into that next. He's almost dropping down a tier for me with CJ Stroud's ascension as well. So I
already have CJ Stroud ahead of him.
Exactly, but I'm saying like we're seeing a bigger shift as he's dropping in a lot of people's rankings. You have someone else passing him by just being better than what we imagine Trevor Lawrence to be. So we're seeing, and then we see Kyler come back and regain the value that he lost over the last year due to his injury. And people are like, okay, time to right this ship in our rankings so that we can get Kyler back to where he's supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Kyler and Trevor Lawrence are close to equal in value.
Mm-hmm.
I can understand if you wanted Kyler more.
Yep. If I have Kyler, I'm not trading for Trevor Lawrence. But if I have Trevor Lawrence, I am willing to trade for Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
I
And remember,
and Travis Etienne's ascension this year and all those 2 touchdown games we talked about TD regression. If those 2 TD games for Travis Etienne changed to 1 TD games and the extra touchdowns for Lawrence, we're having a totally different conversation.
like Travis Etienne has 7 rushing touchdowns on just 160 carries. I mean, that's actually not that far from expected. It's a little high. Not too high, though.
His were all just grouped together in the same games.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
All right. Fire that guy into the moon.
Yeah, Roschon Johnson can go.
Yeah.
Oh. You know what? Let's just stick with this.
Yeah, let's leave here. Thoughts on Devonta Smith for the rest of the season?
The thoughts on Devonta Smith is that he's going to be great. Whenever Dallas Goedert is out, Devonta Smith is great. So why would that change? I mean, this week I have Devonta Smith at wide receiver 10 in my start sit rankings. So I'm all in. Yeah, I have no problems with Devonta Smith. Go ahead.
I was scrolling and my computer refreshed the chat.
So before we do this one, I want to say make sure you're subscribed. Of course, you'll notice that if you're not subscribed, you can't ask chat questions. But I'm doing that because I want people to subscribe to the channel because there's going to be a lot of extra good stuff that we're doing here. And it's not just about this show. The channel used to just be this show. There's going to be a lot of great stuff that we're doing, and I want you to see it. And I promise that you won't regret it. Go ahead.
Is Javonte Williams starting to move back into top 12 running back discussions?
Well, I mean, we just talked about that earlier. I said I had him ranked RB8 for this week. The volume's there. He had 23 touches this last week. And in Dynasty, I have him at running back 8. So the answer is yes. That doesn't mean I want him. Let's review what that means. I might have him at running back 8. I still think Javonte Williams is somewhat of a sell. But that's because every running back in that range is a sell. I mean, almost every valuable running back to me in Dynasty is a sell. Like, I don't like their value. One of the only ones. I mean, Javonte Williams is one of the ones over the last couple of weeks I've liked the value the most. But of the higher running backs, the only one that seems like reasonably priced at their current value is Rachaad White. All the other ones seem way overpriced. So what I've learned, and this is a good point to make, that if you're building a dynasty team, at wide receiver, we want quality over quantity. You want a few really good wide receivers because after a certain point, it doesn't matter. At running back, you want quantity over quality. So I'm unlikely to invest in someone like Javonte Williams because the players I like to invest in are cheap. It's much easier for a running back that you drafted in the last round to randomly have some startable weeks than a wide receiver that you drafted in the last round. There is a Puka Nacua every once in a while. But if you look at it, how many receivers were drafted really late that broke out this year? It's just Puka Nacua. That's it. You know, you get a Noah Brown week every once in a while, but otherwise it's rare. It's hard. So I suggest loading your team with the late round running backs and trying to hit some gold instead of investing in someone like Javonte Williams. I guarantee you I won't have any of him in off-season startups.
All right. We got a rest of the season running back question for non-PPR. Ford, Cook, or Henderson?
You sure this is rest of season? It's Ford no matter what we're asking.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Not impressed by James Cook. James Cook's big night. can't speak today.
I'm tired of James Cook.
I wish I would have sold.
James Cook is another example of what I'm talking about. A running back. So someone like Jerry Jeudy, who has been bad for 4 years, still has dynasty value. And he still will when he goes to another team. James Cook's dynasty value in one bad game has now disappeared. Gone. And it's not coming back because he's going to continuously be benched now. It's never going to come back. That's why we don't invest in that level of running back. In the last DLF ADP, James Cook still had a higher ADP than Jerry Jeudy. And I guarantee you that's not going to be the case in January. Not that I like Jerry Jeudy. I'm just saying. This is why we don't invest in that running back range.
Could have probably gotten like a Christian Kirk for him.
Oh, I'm sure you could have.
Oh, that would have been so much nicer.
In fact, in the last data, James Cook was actually going before Christian Kirk.
That would have been nice.
Well,
slide that wide receiver 3 into your lineup every single
week. Christian Kirk was a bust on his entire first team, and still has dynasty value. Show me a running back who did that. Show me one that has dynasty value after being a bust on their first team. They don't exist. That player doesn't exist. There are none. Why we don't invest in that middle range of running backs. Occasionally, you get someone like a Bijan Robinson or Gibbs who's worth picking in a rookie draft. Otherwise, fill your team with the Keaton Mitchells of the world.
This 2024 class is going to be filled with those wide receivers.
This 2024 class, I can tell you, will be littered with mistakes. People who need running backs in a class that has no good ones. They're going to force themselves to pick running back at 108 or 109 because they need them. And that's going to be a big, big error. Big error. You should take the guys in the late second and the early third and just take your chances instead of reaching on the one good player, because there are no great players this year. I can tell you that. There will be no, it's hard to stack up a class this early, but there's no Bijan Robinson in this class. There's no Jahmyr Gibbs in this class. You're looking at the best player might be a Josh Jacobs level prospect and maybe not even that good. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't. It's going to be disappointing for the rebuilding teams that collected late first and spoil them away, and they stay mediocre because they miss on those.
No,
picks.
It's not disappointing. If you sign up for the Patreon at patreon.com/fantasy advice, I will prevent you from doing that. I will yell at you to make sure you don't do it, because a lot of people say that I'm mean, but I'm not mean. I just don't sugarcoat it. I don't tell you your decisions are good when they're not. A lot of others see this on Twitter all the time. A lot of dynasty analysts on podcasts, I can't listen to it. It's garbage. Oh, well, Bo could see both sides of the trade. If I wanted someone to talk out of both sides of their mouth, I would watch a political debate. But I don't watch those because it's vomit-inducing. You got to actually help people, provide actionable advice. Your job is not to make them feel better. You want to do that, go take an edible. That'll make you feel better.
And sign up before you make the big mistakes.
Oh, that's really good advice. If you sign up for the Patreon after you screw up your team, I can still help you. But
they're in round 4 of the startup, and they've traded away a future first. All the time.
Yeah, someone signs up, they're in round 5 of their startup, and they've already traded away their future first for the next 2 years. And I'm like, I'm gonna still help you, but you've made my job a lot harder here.
Tyler, why didn't you fix my team? And then they leave a bad review on the Patreon.
Oh, it's funny. No one's ever actually done that. Most of the bad reviews are because I'm too mean. I'm too honest.
All right.
Or that I take breaks from checking Twitter. That's the other thing I get bad reviews from. that I'm not answering immediately. I wish I were a robot. I wish, but I have a life.
Just don't make enough money to sit on Twitter all day. Got to go see the world.
So. Even with Musk's new check.
All right. Swamp Johnny, hoping to sweep his Dynasty League. I've got a productive struggle in a 12-team, half PPR Dynasty Superflex. Should I send Josh Jacobs in the 2024 mid-third for Nico Collins in the 2026 second?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, because the second you get to the middle of the offseason, Nico Collins is going to be worth more than Josh Jacobs.
Yep, you've got to get that aging running back who's going to – we talk about running backs losing value so much and how low they are in Tyler's rankings. Josh Jacobs is going to continue to fall off because he's going to be a whole year older, and no one wants him.
Josh Jacobs, also, the underlying metrics have said that he's not good anymore. The volume's still there, but he hasn't been as good. He has not been good, which is going to hurt him in contract negotiations because I don't think he's going to be back with this team. This team is ripping everything apart. I think they've moved on from all their decision makers. I think they're going to – I just don't find it hard to believe that they're going to start off their new franchise direction by franchise tagging Josh Jacobs a second time.
And who wants to pay up that running back contract? We already had the big debate about running back contracts last year.
And they've done so well.
Only to see Jamal Williams do almost nothing in New Orleans. Miles Sanders to get benched in Carolina. Any running backs?
Montgomery's paying off.
He's paying off very well. But he also didn't get the bag. He got paid, but he didn't get like $10 million plus.
Tony Pollard's franchise tag has been an unmitigated disaster.
They just went and drafted the next Tony Pollard.
Yeah,
which is what they should have done initially.
Yeah,
they could have brought in David Montgomery and drafted how they drafted and been fine and saved a few million dollars.
Keep an eye on the running backs after year 3. We always forget about it, but I'm going to warn you: these players are probably going to hold out, and they're probably going to get angry. So you got to keep an eye on Javonte Williams, Travis Etienne. I mean, those are really the main two. Because Najee Harris is not valuable enough for us to care. But Javonte Williams and Travis Etienne, those are the two. You have to remember what happened with Jonathan Taylor this year is a possibility of happening to those guys next year.
Their owner just claims that they're on IR or stay on the pup.
Yeah.
When they're perfectly fine. It's a possibility. George Play 0-1. Hey guys, my starting quarterback is Tua, and I have Fields on the bench. I picked Purdy last week, but I don't need him anymore. Should I trade Purdy and Dell for Pacheco, non-PPR league?
I assume this is a redraft, in which case I would prefer Pacheco.
Yep.
Especially in a non-PPR league.
Yep. If you can get 2 for 1 on a quarterback that's outside of top 10.
I still think that when Nico Collins comes back, that Nico Collins is still... Oh, that's been up there the whole time.
No.
That Nico Collins is still the one.
Yes, agreed. I think we see Noah Brown's role disappear completely. Thoughts on the Vikings backfield?
They both suck. They should claim Michael Carter. We talked about that. Michael Carter, I think, is a better player than Ty Chandler. Doesn't mean they're going to get him, though, because they're 6-4. There are other teams that could be ahead of them in the waiver order, but I think they should try. At least put the claim in. Because I do think that Michael Carter is an upgrade.
Who's RB3 for the Jets right now with Carter?
Abanikanda.
I thought he was with Detroit.
That's Donovan Knight.
Yeah. Every running back on a 53, right?
Yeah, mostly.
Yeah. I'm just... Brains is difficult. I don't like this question. I don't like the way it's worded, but we can talk about what it actually means. Is Tank Bigsby a drop in Dynasty?
No, I think it's actually asking if Tank Bigsby is a drop in Dynasty, and the answer is no. I think it's a very legitimate question. I can understand why someone would think that because he has done nothing at all. I mean, nothing. Not even a little. Zero. So I understand why you would ask that, but the answer is no. We don't drop running backs like that.
One not so high ankle sprain, and he's the top waiver ad. Anyone who has full fab.
You know, it's funny you say that because he actually fell behind Quentin Johnston in playing time. What a joke. What a joke. I mean, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Last week, they decided that he was so bad in his limited role that they had to give his limited role to a washed-up veteran who couldn't even see the field last year. It's a joke. With that said, you can't drop Tank Bigsby. You just never know. Two running backs on a team get hurt all the time in the same week. And then you need him. And once someone flashes once, they have value. You just can't. You can't drop running backs like that.
If we're redrafting today, who are our top 5 picks?
In redraft. Tyreek Hill would be 101. Are we talking redrafting from today moving forward or redrafting before week 1 knowing what we know now?
Let's
those
say
are not the same thing.
Starting from today.
Starting from today? Tyreek Hill would be the 101 for sure. Amon-Ra, Travis Kelce,
AJ Brown?
Chase.
Or CD?
CD, yeah.
Probably CD Lamb. Although with that Dallas Goedert out, AJ Brown is gonna.
That was 5 straight weeks of 125 yards.
Christian McCaffrey would also definitely be there. It's hard to pick a 5 because it's Tyreek Hill, Christian McCaffrey, and then everyone else is a step down for sure. Like those are the top 2. I don't think there's another running back. Like it would be. It's close between Christian McCaffrey and Tyreek Hill, who's number 1. And then I think there's Amon-Ra, AJ Brown, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, and probably Justin Jefferson, assuming he's back this week, before, and then maybe even Keenan Allen before anyone else. And then Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce hasn't been the same edge this year that he's been in the past. He's been fine, but there's been other tight ends that are good enough to be a difference maker. That the VORP, wow, that was a big word for me, of Travis Kelce is not what it was. So that's the only reason I think I would have Travis Kelce below all those high-end wide receivers. But I still think I'd have Travis Kelce ahead of my running back too. Like I think there's only, so it's very strange. I think I'd have a first round literally might include Christian McCaffrey, 9 or 10 wide receivers, and Travis Kelce.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was focused on my phone. We just had like 3 trades happen in my home dynasty league.
Oh.
None of them meant anything.
I think there should be more trades. I mean, people should trade with me more often. You know, I think people should trade with me because if they don't trade with me, then their phone is going to have a lot of notifications. If they do, then those notifications might go away. Then there won't be a lot of notifications.
So we had a 2026 5th round pick and $8 a fab for Tyson Chandler.
Who cares?
$8 a fab makes a difference.
Yeah, we had Cade Otton for a 2025 3rd and a 4th.
Take Cade Otton there. I actually like Cade Otton.
And then there was like a Demario Douglas, Keaton Mitchell, a couple fourths for Kyron Williams.
Oh, I'll take Demario Douglas and the other things.
Yep, same here.
What about this?
Is Treylon Burks a bust, or could he turn it all around?
It's possible, but things have changed in the NFL. What the 3rd-year breakout has become a 2nd breakout. Like, you don't have to do it for fantasy, But if you get through 2 years of your career and you've essentially done nothing, as in not been real life productive for any of it, Treylon Burks had flashes, but he never really did it, you probably won't succeed. I can't remember the last player like that who had a successful NFL career. The best one is like DJ Chark. And even he wasn't all that great, but he literally, did nothing and then emerged. There's also Christian Kirk. I mean, Christian Kirk, who we talked about before, he didn't do much in his first 2 years. And then but even Christian Kirk had 108 targets in year 2.
And he was overshadowed by other guys.
Yeah. So so he did a lot more than Treylon Burks has done so far. So
and he stayed on the field.
Someone doing this little and turning it around, it doesn't usually happen. Usually these are your Rashad Batemans, players who you talk about. And I think Rashad Bateman is in this category. Good example of it. What might have been if they had been in the right situation. Another player I think we're going to unfortunately say this about is Wan'Dale Robinson. It's another player who was hurt and then this year has just been destroyed by a horrible offense. His career doesn't merit that he gets 3 chances. Treylon Burks is a first-round pick, so he is going to get an opportunity next year to play and to have a role. But the odds are stacked against him. He's moved so far down in my rankings at this stage. I mean, we're talking about someone who's not a top 45 dynasty wide receiver for me.
I feel like we talk about him almost every week. Finally found the end zone, Quentin Johnston.
Quentin Johnston? I have more hope for him than Treylon Burks. But everything about his underlying metrics has said that he's horrible. I mean, absolutely awful. So it's just a question of, the thing is, we know he has the draft capital. We know he has the really good quarterback. So if the talent's there, he'll succeed. The problem is I don't think the talent's there. But if we're wrong, he's not going to be in a situation where the offense takes him down. Like, the offense is good. So that's one more reason I would lean to hold on to Quentin Johnston.
The rest of the stretch is going to be really important for his.
It's critical, yeah. He played a full complement of snaps, but if he falls behind Jalen Guyton, we're going to have a problem.
Most definitely. And finally finding the end zone, but in a total shootout.
Yeah, he's really done nothing. I mean, he has 162 yards in 9 games. I mean, he's really done nothing. I would say that over the last 8 games, I'd like to see him add 400 yards to that at a minimum.
I would say he's hit that 550,
600
600 yards.
Yeah. Happening.
Sadly. Hit three or 4 touchdowns, and we can have a good conversation. Say, okay, you showed us something. We can make an argument for you for next year, and we'll go from there. 12-team Superflex, start 9, half PPR Javonte or mid to late 25 first?
Javonte.
My pet peeve. Calling it the mid to late 25 first.
How do you know it's a mid to late 25 first?
That's
that team could have 2 new managers in the time that pick is made. So you don't know that. But beyond that, I would say that the problem is that this is why I don't want to pick Javonte, because you pick him, but I don't think you can really get that much more than this in a trade. But where he's being picked, you should be able to get more than that for the pick that you used to trade him in a startup. So I probably just don't pick Javonte.
We mentioned this a little bit ago. Is Michael Carter a good pickup after waivers clear?
No. I mean, in Dynasty, if he's on waivers, I would add him. But he shouldn't have been in the first place. He was a running back who had displayed talent in the NFL and who still had some sort of a role, those players I usually say to hang on to. Because unlike some other players who have roles, I really don't think Michael Carter is bad. I think he's okay. Okay. I think he is fine. So I don't tend to let those guys go in Dynasty League. So he shouldn't have been on waivers. But if he was, I would add him. In redraft, no point.
Can you do an inspection on Breece Hall?
An inspection on Breece Hall. Well, I'll have to look into that. I'll have to see. I think there could be some value there, but we'll have to see for the results of the inspection. We'll have to see. Go ahead.
I'm going to do something very intentional while reading this question, just to give Mitch Fantasy some understanding of why are we besmirching James Cook? Didn't he? Sorry, I really fumbled that question. Dropped the ball on that one. But didn't he have like 120 yards?
We're gonna work on some of that comedic timing. I'll help you. I'll help you
for those classes? You paying for those classes?
This is my area of expertise. We're gonna work on that. But
see, it worked. It made you laugh.
I think I made myself laugh more than you. But let's. My beautiful face.
If you're wondering why Tyler's going to more solo content, I am his Mr. Reliable. And having to listen to me for 2 hours a night, it's easier to go to solo content.
No, I like doing this. But the thing I like about solo content is I can record it whenever I want, if the people really want to know. I definitely do better during the day. I'm more awake during the day. But that's not when people are around to view live content. So I think that's actually, if people really want to know a little inside my brain, I think that's the biggest reason why. But yeah, there was, 2 fumbles and the lost exchange?
He also had like a drop pass, I think, too. Or one that just hit his hands and just fell.
I mean, for fantasy, he cost you. So, look, I think he's fine. I think he's a good runner, but he's going to be punished. Like, Leonard Fournette is going to be the starter this week, right? Like, can't trust James Cook in your fantasy lineup because there's just a chance he gets totally benched. Latavius Murray outsnapped him.
Did you see my tweet last night?
No, I didn't.
I said I still have a chance, and it was James Cook under 10.5 rushing yards when he hit 110.
Oh my God.
Oops.
So, yeah, I have James Cook this week ranked at running back 24, but I don't like that. I don't like that at all. And if I hear that Leonard Fournette is actually going to be activated and is really playing, I'll move James Cook down more because I'm just scared. I don't think against the Jets, I don't think I'm going to be regretting missing out on James Cook this week. So I'll probably rank him lower to account for the just total benching range of his outcomes. Go ahead.
What's Ridley in Dynasty?
Bust. I mean, I warned people about this, and I don't want to say that I got it right. I did, but I don't want to say that. But one thing I definitely got right was the fact that if Calvin Ridley was bad, the dynasty value would leave and would never return. And that's where we are. He's going to turn 29 in December. The dynasty value is gone, and it's never coming back. So that's the reality of the situation. He had one chance, and I think for the most part, it hasn't been so good. Also, another thing to remember is that the Jaguars owe the Falcons a second-round pick if they extend Calvin Ridley, and I think that that's enough to make them just not extend Calvin Ridley. I do not think that they're going to extend Calvin Ridley. I think Calvin Ridley is going to walk.
Ray Davis is the guy this year, running back out of Kentucky. Running back out of Kentucky.
Yeah, I don't.
I googled him. Sorry, I'm a Big Ten guy. I know more Big Ten players than I do.
Yeah.
SEC, especially secondary SEC schools.
Yeah, go ahead.
Rank these tight ends for Dynasty. Pitts, Ferguson, and McBride.
Yeah, so I heard a lot of people saying that Trey McBride should be ranked ahead of Kyle Pitts. I thought it was interesting. Trey McBride is older than Kyle Pitts. Took longer to emerge in the NFL. Was not as good of a prospect as Kyle Pitts. And doesn't have the draft capital. But because he had a big game this last week, he should be ranked ahead. So I think some people go a little too fast in vaulting someone up to the top of rankings. So I still have it Pitts, McBride, Ferguson, Auden.
I mean, it's 2 good games in a row. Don't forget, but
2 out of 3.
2 out of 3. That was really good.
There was a Clayton Tune game.
Really good.
Clayton Tune. That I don't want to count that. That's no one's producing with Clayton Tune. I'm sorry, but like, is it just that people are so sick of Kyle Pitts? Like, I feel like that too. Like, you've spent elite draft capital on when you could have taken, I don't know, in tight end premium Jamar Chase potentially. If you're feeling,
I think people are just mad. I mean, Kyle Pitts.
Arthur Smith's coaching next year.
To be honest, as a share of the offense, he's been fine. The problem is not Kyle Pitts. The problem is the offense. Like Kyle Pitts has a good target share. He has a good yardage share for a tight end. The problem is that there are no touchdowns in this offense. That Arthur Smith is incompetent, and that the quarterback play is even worse than Arthur Smith. So it's so hard to give up on Kyle Pitts when he just turned 23.
He's going to be 30, and we're going to be saying the same thing. We're going to be like, it's not too late.
But this is going to be resolved. Like, we've already gotten through 3 years of this, and this is not next year. It's not going to be Desmond Ridder or Taylor Heineke. We've seen the end of that. I don't know what it will be, but it's not going to be either of them.
What's the best case scenario? Kirk Cousins coming off.
Kirk Cousins is the best case scenario.
Michael Penix, Bo Nix.
Well, I can just tell you that it will not be Desmond Ridder or Taylor Heineke. They are done with those two. They're done with them.
JJ McCarthy.
I think that the Falcons are more. I mean, if they retain Arthur Smith, I think they're more. Which, unfortunately, I think they're going to do. I think they're more likely to bring in a different veteran quarterback, of which Kirk Cousins is at the top of that list. But a trade for Justin Fields, I think, would also make a lot of sense.
Can you imagine Justin Fields wasting all these weapons? Can you imagine what Twitter X, whatever you want to call it, would be like?
Bears Twitter would be like, see, we always told you Justin Fields was bad.
Yeah, I do think, though, that they're going to be someone who gets a veteran in there, and there is no downgrade. You cannot downgrade from these two.
Oh, there's a couple
challenge accepted.
there's a couple interesting names in free agency. I'm looking at the class right now, along with Kirk Cousins. Ryan Tannehill feels like an Arthur Smith guy, even though he's not good. Jameis maybe. That'd be fun.
Baker Mayfield's a free agent.
Baker Mayfield, but you know who they're gonna pick up?
Josh Dobbs.
Man of the year, baby. Josh Dobbs. Let's go.
Yeah.
The Pastronaut, who has me blocked on Twitter, by the way.
Wait, what? Why?
Because my eval of him coming out of college wasn't that hot, and yeah, I said he should have a 4th round grade. He searched his name, blocked me. That's that.
Josh Jacobs has me blocked on Twitter.
We shared the Josh block, you know.
Yeah.
All right.
Next.
Would you slightly overpay for G. Wilson if no other elite wideouts are available? I have a bunch of good wideouts, 3 firsts and 3 seconds, and I think I should tier up. Flowers, Heineke, late first for Wilson.
Do it.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I don't mind that trade at all.
I've kind of cooled on Zay Flowers a little. Not much, but a little.
I want to know who's asking for Taylor Heineke in Dynasty.
I don't. He's going to be benched again. They're going back to Ritter in week 12.
So he could steal more of Bijan's touchdowns. It's so nice seeing that touchdown. Then the read option just ruined my day.
Yeah.
All right.
Next.
To chat refreshing. Best guess on how many good years CMC has left? All of them.
As many as he wants to play.
I mean, we saw a decline last week. He didn't get into the end zone.
Yeah, Christian McCaffrey to me feels like I don't know. I hate saying that someone's superhuman because they are until they're not. But Christian McCaffrey has shown no signs of decline. If anything, this looks like his best year, which is insane. But there's no guessing that.
I can't,
it hasn't mattered because, like, I haven't had any Christian McCaffrey, and I probably never will. In redraft, maybe.
I'm looking forward to down the line when CMC inevitably starts falling off and he has bad games to be able to pull out the fat man and Superman in a fat suit comment as he slowly starts to try and be Superman, still be his old self, but just having lost his step.
Doesn't matter. I'll be buying for a third at that point.
I am retiring with CMC on my team.
I'm retired. I got an honorary take him out of the NFL.
I'm leaving all my leagues when he retires. Holding on to him for 5 extra years. He goes full Andrew Luck. We're just waiting for him to come back. Contender with only Breece and Ramondre can grab Eckler for 2 seconds. Pay for the old running back or hold tight?
If you need him, that's not the worst price I've ever seen. I could do it.
Yeah.
Flags fly forever, right?
He is a fantasy guy as well, so like got a bump for the stock there. No, I'm kidding, but
how are you feeling about Tyjae? I can't even pronounce his name. Yeah, his rest of the season into next year.
Well, he's not going to be fantasy relevant with Derrick Henry. I think the Titans have seen enough from Tyjae Spears that I highly doubt that they're going to re-sign Derrick Henry, but it is possible. We've seen that before. We don't think someone's going to re-sign someone, and then they do at a cheap deal. So you have to be careful. I don't want to overvalue Tyjae Spears because I really don't think he's someone that is the best. But he's shown that he's good. He's kind of in that range of running backs that there was a time during the season that I would have had Tyjae Spears during the offseason at his really depressed price. I could have drafted some, but he's probably going to be in that range of being overpriced for me. But I like the player.
Are we done with Jameson Williams and Treylon Burks?
Mostly. Jameson Williams, I mean, we're talking about a game that, they scored 41 points, and he still did nothing. I mean,
he had a great block.
Oh, I'm so happy for him.
Points for blocking.
He finally played over a 50% snap share. He finally passed Khalif Raymond on the depth chart. I was very proud. And he still only had 2 targets and 18 yards. I don't think Jameson Williams is happening.
Drop Pacheco for Gibbs.
In what universe are we dropping either Pacheco or Gibbs? Yeah, something's not
-1
right
point per reception.
Ooh,
yeah, no, something's not right here. We're not dropping Pacheco or Gibbs under any circumstances.
Keaton Mitchell.
So with Keaton Mitchell, I had a lot of Keaton Mitchell. I talked about him during the offseason. It's the kind of thing where in your regular 12-team league, if you have Keaton Mitchell and you can get a second, I would take it. But otherwise, you just hold on to Keaton Mitchell. Thing is, if you can get a second, you can then pile those seconds to get someone like the previous question, like Austin Eckler. You can put 2 seconds to get Austin Eckler, and that'll help you win a lot more than Keaton Mitchell. But if you can't get a second, if you're not getting a second, then I just hang on to Keaton Mitchell and hope that you get some startable weeks out of him. And he's not a must move or anything. He's really young. So if I can't get the offer I want, I'm just going to hang on to Keaton Mitchell.
It's okay to hold on to players as they develop.
Yeah, there's
even
nothing wrong
even
with
when
that.
they're doing well.
Even running backs.
Yes. 1 quarterback, 10-team dynasty. Trey McBride and Douglas or Nico Collins? He's already got Laporta and Pitts on this team.
It's very fair. I think the value's with McBride and Douglas. I like Douglas a lot. I think Douglas has staying power. I don't know that he's going to ever develop into anything special, but I do think he has staying power. So while I would lean Nico Collins over Trey McBride, I'm a little worried about Nico Collins. I will say I like him, but I do have some concerns. Like, what if the Texans add someone really good? You know, like T. Higgins or someone better than Nico Collins. What's going to happen? Is he still going to be as good? Is he going to maintain the wide receiver 1 role over Tank Dell? So while I like Nico Collins, he's not someone that I'm, overly attached to.
Yeah, I mean, when your wide receiver 3 is Robert Woods, you could instantly get a better wide receiver in there and just absolutely nuke everybody
It's hard.
else.
I mean, better wide receivers than Nico Collins don't just grow on trees, but if you told me that Houston spent Cleveland's first-round pick on a wide receiver this year, I wouldn't be surprised.
Not at all.
We'll see what CJ Stroud tells him to do.
I mean, he told him to take Tank Dell.
Speaking of Tank Dell, this guy's got 2 trades on the table for Saquon. Tank Dell and David Montgomery, or James Cook and Debo?
Is this
I want to assume redraft.
It's got to be redraft. Well, the James Cook and Debo one, that one kind of doesn't do anything for me. James Cook, I feel like, is on the verge of being benched. And Debo, the last game, the volume for the 49ers was terrifying. They all got there. All of them. But Kittle had 4 targets, but 116 yards and a touchdown. Ayuk had 3 targets, but 55 yards and a touchdown. Debo only had 4 targets, but he scored on the ground. They all got there, but that's so narrow. That's such a narrow path. So that offer doesn't do anything for me. Tank Dell and David Montgomery. I'm a little worried about David Montgomery in that you can't just delete the 75-yard run. But if the 75-yard run for a touchdown doesn't happen, he had no passing game involvement at all and also no goal line carries. Or maybe 1. Gibbs had 3.
Gibbs was supposed to be in on that play. They had the wrong personnel out there and had to ran the play.
That's funny.
It was supposed to be Jahmyr Gibbs on that run.
But either way, it's a normal run from the 25-yard line. It's not a weird play for David Montgomery to be on. But what I'm saying is the goal line usage and the passing game usage were not there. So I am a little bit concerned about David Montgomery. So I think I would just have to keep Saquon there in redraft. Saquon is a volume RB1, and that's not going to change. Yeah, I have David Montgomery this week ranked at RB18. He's such a tricky player to rank.
Mike sent Mike to say hi. Hi, Mike.
Hi, Mike.
Hello.
Are you signed up for the Patreon, Mike? I hope you are.
Yeah, Mike. Make sure you're signed up for the Patreon. The Patreon is very important. I'm very proud of it.
It's the fantasy football advice live channels. It's our Kool-Aid. You drink it. You win your titles. You make money.
Yeah.
And then you spend more money on the Patreon.
I approve of that.
We got some peanut butter jelly time. My team won this week because my opponent, who's in first place, played Buffalo's quarterback Josh Allen and Cook. LOL.
Okay, so speaking of, James Cook is a little bit of an enigma. But quarterback this week, ranking quarterback this week is an enigma, to tell you something. I mean, I have Trevor Lawrence at quarterback 16. I have Russell Wilson against Minnesota. I'm not exactly scared of that matchup at 17. There are a lot of good quarterback plays this week. Like the difference between, and I have Kyler Murray at quarterback 11 against Houston and Tua at quarterback 3 against Vegas, and those are not very far apart.
Isn't it
Josh Allen, I've dropped to quarterback 7.
Compared to like 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, Josh Allen's ECR was quarterback 3, and I just can't. I can't rank him there. Not against the Jets. Jets are a really good defense, and the Jets also cannot score. So the odds that this is like a ceiling game for Josh Allen is close to nothing. And honestly, 7 might be too high. Like I have
10-3 game.
Yeah, I mean, I want to rank Jared Goff ahead of Josh Allen, and that is so hard to do.
You'll get laughed off X if you say that. If you put that.
I mean, I don't care.
No, I'm saying like that's the type of shit that just people used to always get laughed out of.
You see, the thing is, I can't get laughed off X anymore because if people do that, then my check from Elon Musk is even larger. I realized this at some point. What I do is I just post things and then I mute the conversation and just let the fire rage in the comments, but I don't see it. Go ahead.
All right. Talked about this a little bit earlier. Does it mean Izzy's going to cook with Carter being released?
No. Fuck no.
Earlier in the show, you spoke of wanting more running backs versus great running backs. In Dynasty, what are we trading for with guys like Monty, CMC, lesser running backs?
Well, the only way you would have Monty is if you violated my idea in the first place. You wouldn't have Montgomery if you did things my way. Same with Javonte or Barkley. So you wouldn't have these guys. But let's say that you do. Let's say that you drafted a team before you met me. Usually, I find that trading running backs for wide receivers is the best way to get out from under them. Like, can you trade Javonte Williams for... That might be a hard one. You have to get someone really good. Could you trade him for a struggling Drake London? Maybe. Could you trade David Montgomery for Josh Downs?
Probably.
Maybe. That's usually it's trading from running back to wide receivers the way you get out.
But if I'm doing that, I'm feeling sick to my stomach as I'm trying to slide Josh Downs into my lineup, and I see David Montgomery go for 2 touchdowns and 98 yards.
I'm okay with it though. You got to build up that stable of wide receivers.
You do. I'm just saying it's one of those. It's tough to stomach sometimes as we look at these trades.
I sleep very well at night. No problem.
All right. I saw the light. What the hell just happened to my camera? Jerome Ford, any long-term value?
Yes.
I'd say so.
He's gonna have a role.
I think also the Browns are stuck with Nick Chubb's deal for next year, and I think that they love Nick Chubb so much that they're gonna pay it. Like actually, so I think Jerome Ford is gonna be their starter. I don't think they're gonna like bring in another high-end running back.
You can't.
They're also short draft picks. I mean, they have a second and a third, and that's it. And I really do not think they can afford to spend one of those on a running back.
Is Gabe Davis going to get replaced next year?
What do you mean? I mean, yes, he's a free agent, and they're not going to retain him.
He's going to play the same role somewhere else.
Yeah.
Maybe
I definitely do not think the Bills are going to bring him back.
He's a better version of MVS.
I think we've seen enough from Gabe Davis. He's going to go. He's going to collect a paycheck a rather large paycheck to be good for his real life team and not helpful for us.
You know what would just be a frenzy? If he goes and signs like a 2-year deal for KC.
I was just thinking that.
And we
Then
watch what
people
happened
can
with
be in on him all over again.
Yep. Same way people were on Sammy Watkins. We've seen this act play out every single offseason.
I do think the Chiefs are going to acquire. I think they're going to clean out this wide receiver room. I think they're going to acquire somebody.
It's still a cheap wide receiver room right now.
Yeah, Rashee Rice, I think, is actually good, but I do think this might be the year they pick a wide receiver in the first round. I say that every year, but I really do think it's a possibility.
Depends on how early or late they draft. If you're picking pick 32.
I do also think that Kansas City can see that Patrick Mahomes has not been as good this year without anybody in the wide receiver room. And I think that they could get a veteran and not Gabe Davis. I'm talking about something. I mean, Mike Evans is a free agent. Devonta Adams is available. T. Higgins is a free agent. Like, there are players that are available, and I think that they're going to make a large move.
I mean, I think they have to.
I think they have to. I don't think Calvin Ridley's a free agent. I'm not saying that he's going to be. I'm not saying that Calvin Ridley's going to be a wide receiver 1 there, but I'm saying that Calvin Ridley would be an upgrade over Sky Moore. Like, imagine if they signed Calvin Ridley in free agency and then drafted a wide receiver in the first round. And then you had that first round wide receiver, Calvin Ridley and Rashee Rice. That's you have something there. You know, you're playing real players, not losers.
All right. Big regrets going from off season.
I made a lot of like trades when players were kind of breaking out that I wish I could have back. Quite a few. Trading away Kyron Williams before the season was probably one of the worst. Dropping Kyron Williams and Scott Fishbowl before week 1 was really bad. It's really, I will say this. My passion for actually playing fantasy football is at an all-time low. Like, I feel like I have nothing to prove. Like, I already know that, you know, everyone always tells me, like, oh, you're the best, you know, you're the best. Like, but what's one more championship going to do? Like, I feel like I've won enough fantasy football championships for a lifetime. And I think the thing maybe I regret is somehow I'm in too many leagues, even though I'm barely in any. And yeah, like, I like helping other people win more and creating content more than I do actually playing. I haven't spent as much time on my own leagues. I've been too busy helping people win.
All right. Keaton Mitchell for a 25-second. I've already got it mentioned. Yep.
It's like the minimum I'd be willing to accept.
Who are some big buy targets?
I
I like this question. It's Texans wide receivers. The rookie, this is the sophomore, and the third year.
Well, it's usually players that are still young, but are kind of just not producing for whatever reason. Kyle Pitts. He's probably near the top of my list. Luke Musgrave. I think he's actually really good, but Jordan Love is not. And he's been open so much. Michael Wilson, if that touchdown had not been overturned, I think we'd all be talking about Michael Wilson. But because it was, he's like ranked outside the top 60 this week in ECR for start data. He should not be. Michael Wilson is playing a starter's role and has been all year. And he was good this last week. And if that touchdown had not been overturned at like the inch line, everyone would be talking about him. So Michael Wilson is definitely on my list. I did mention Jerry Jeudy. although he's not in this year range, he's still very young. I really do think that Jerry Jeudy is not horrible. And I think he's been totally missed in his entire time in Denver. And I do think he could be someone like Christian Kirk. You notice Jerry Jeudy's first 4 years are very similar to Christian Kirk's. I think he's someone where if you just kind of change the scenery, I think he could be good. And he's been just totally dismissed by people who are frustrated, who picked him over CeeDee Lamb or something. But those are some players.
I'd like someone like Josh Downs.
Josh Downs is not that cheap, though. Jonathan Mingo, I think
I was gonna say
he's been dismissed because Bryce Young has been bad. But Jonathan Mingo's out there and playing, and he's earning targets. It's not his fault that the targets are not catchable. Or that they're 2 feet away. Like, he's on my list for sure. So there's a few.
Can I use this as my moment? Play Marvin Mims, Sean Payton. God dang it.
Did you see the video that he posted?
No.
Someone was asking him, like, at the end of the game, post for a selfie, and there was someone in the crowd taunting him, being like, you didn't put up any yards. And he was like, well, they don't throw me the ball.
I mean, it's true. They don't throw him the ball. What was he going to do? He makes every team.
I think we have another Elijah Moore here. Someone who's obviously open, and there's a problem. There's some sort of problem. I don't know what the problem is. There's a problem either with Russell Wilson or a problem with the coaching staff, but there's a problem. And I think that problem is going to need to be resolved by Marvin Mims exiting Denver.
All right. We're like 10 games.
He was Sean Payton's guy, right?
He was Sean Payton doesn't have a guy. I don't know.
Makes it more likely that the problem is with Russell Wilson, not Sean Payton. Also, he said that Russell Wilson, he doesn't throw me the ball. So he was blaming it on Russell Wilson, not Sean Payton.
He told Russell Wilson to sit down in the plane while he was jazzercising.
Also, I really think that it's not, Sean Payton's fault because Sean Payton put him on the field more this week. Like, I don't know if people noticed that. Like, coming out of the bye week, Marvin Mims zoomed up to a 69% snap share. He actually played more snaps than Jerry Jeudy. So the problem was not that Sean Payton didn't put him on the field. The problem was that Russell Wilson didn't throw to him.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
I like this question. I think we could do series on these questions.
I could do.
I think there's hours of content on this already in the channel.
Mm-hmm.
But what is your strategy in Dynasty for trading? Are we willy-nilly trading picks to get players? What are your thoughts on tanking? What's the point of paying for a league to intentionally lose?
Well, we're trying to win eventually. But are we willy-nilly trading picks to get players? No. We trade for value. We try to think about all of our moves. We don't do reckless things.
I'll give this example. I've been working through a rebuild, and the rebuild finishes as we go into next season. And I had someone trying to sell off a bunch of veteran players for me to get some of my picks back from me. I'm like, nope, the value might kind of be there, but I don't want these players. I don't think I can get the return value on them that I think I'm going to later. So you're thinking ahead of what is your plan? How are you going to get to your destination? And follow that roadmap from point A to point B.
Yeah.
And sometimes that roadmap means you have to take a detour, sell off some players that just are turning into baggage, lighten your load, find new companions to join you on this journey, and then ascend them out into the championship.
Bro's talking about fantasy football like it's Pokemon or something. Like,
it's the quest for the Holy Grail.
So
we're all chasing. Difference? We're all chasing something.
Are we?
We have to know where we're going, though.
Well, when you said baggage, I was thinking of the game show hosted by Jerry Springer.
Did he have a game show?
It was called Baggage.
Oh,
it's time to unlock more baggage. they would like have people who were on it was like a dating show, and people would have a small, medium, and a large bag that would contain like bad things about themselves.
We just call that red flags now.
Yeah, but this was like 14 years ago.
Rest of the season, are we starting Laporta or McBride?
McBride.
Really?
No, why did I say that? Laporta. I need
I'm like, what?
Whoa. Okay.
I do have.
Wait, can we do
question.
something? I'm gonna do something here. Malfunction. The Tyler robot has malfunctioned. This is why we do not do live shows anymore. Please send him for repair.
All right, I've got a dynasty
I need a
situation.
nap.
You see, I'm on the show, so I don't have to. I can skip the chat. I can just ask a question. I have Trey McBride. Say Trey McBride gets injured. He's my only tight end left on my team.
Is this a personal question?
It is a personal question.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Who's someone that's worth targeting as that security blanket insurance in a dynasty league? You're a contender. You're 20-0. Can't risk putting up a 0.
We're getting another tight end in the mix.
You need to get it. Cade Otton.
Cade Otton is the one that you can buy. That's a real asset. That's not going to just fade away, but it's probably not going to be overpriced either.
This show is now sponsored by Cade Otton. We've mentioned him positively several times today.
Yeah.
When is the time to move Stroud above Burrow and Herbert? He's doing the same, if not more, with worse weapons. Keenan getting old. Johnston not great. Higgins out the door soon. Is it Stroud to the moon?
We're getting there. We are slowly getting there.
We're not that far off from being there.
No.
Who is he above for you?
He's
Who's
not
the
above
last-
either of those two.
Is he above? He's above Herbert. Not Herbert. Lawrence for you. Is he above Lamar?
Oh, yeah.
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 For me, I'm fighting with Herbert.
I agree. I think those two, like for me at this point, Burrow is close to the tier of Mahomes, Hurts, and Allen because none of those three have been that impressive. And Burrow has been absolutely on fire. Also, I think of those, like, Burrow's the one I think that's going to last. I mean, Mahomes will last forever, but Burrow's going to last longer than Hurts or Allen.
Mm-hmm.
Allen is, like, if you had Burrow above Allen in Dynasty, I don't have a problem with that anymore. Like, those guys are in the same tier. Those guys are not in different tiers. And I just I haven't seen enough from CJ Stroud yet to put him in the Joe Burrow tier. I mean, we're talking Joe Burrow about someone who has been an elite passer essentially consistently for many years. CJ Stroud, we've seen a few games. I can't make that jump.
Hello from the zombies. I'm currently doing a trade. I'm giving away Cooper Kupp and Jerome Ford, and I'm receiving Mike Evans and Keaton Mitchell. Could I have your thoughts?
So we're doing a redraft here. I guess this has to be.
Has to be.
Yep. He also says
I'm gonna keep Kupp. I'm going to keep Kupp. I would rather have Kupp over Evans, and I'd rather have Ford over Mitchell. Ford has been good. People are underrating Jerome Ford since he came back from the high ankle sprain, and then he totally locked down the workload. The rest of the team doesn't matter because I'd prefer both sides of it. I'd rather have Cooper Kupp also over Mike Evans because if Matthew Stafford is playing, Cooper Kupp has like top 5 upside. And Mike Evans, while he's been good, I do think that they have to go something to Chris Godwin. Like, I really don't think that we're going to have the split that we've had permanently, right? I mean, maybe, but I think that's unlikely.
quick start sit. Purdy or Dobbs?
Ooh. Well, First of all, that depends on if Justin Jefferson plays. If Justin Jefferson doesn't play, it's Purdy for sure. If Jefferson does play, I actually have them ranked interestingly. In 4-point quarterback scoring, I have Dobbs ahead. But in 6-point passing touchdowns, I have Purdy ahead. So they're very close.
We talked about this earlier. Time to drop Lawrence.
In redraft 1 QB, you can, yeah. If you need the spot, you can drop Trevor Lawrence. I would, there's no problem in a redraft 1 QB in dropping Trevor Lawrence.
So we got a lot of T. Higgins love. T. Higgins to KC would be scary. T. Higgins to KC, wide receiver 1 for 5 years straight.
T. Higgins is a player where your average fantasy football manager cannot evaluate T. Higgins rationally. Like there's just been too many little problems. Like they can't evaluate him rationally. Like they cannot look at T. Higgins objectively. T. Higgins is a great player. He's going to be 25 in January, not old. I have dropped him a little bit down my dynasty ranks because I think it's fair to say that T. Higgins is never going to be an elite dynasty asset, but you need players like this. Not every player can be Amon-Ra or CeeDee Lamb. You're not going to have 5 of those. So, yeah, I still have him ranked pretty highly, and I think that T. Higgins is going to be courted by the best teams in the league or is going to stay in Cincinnati.
Ryan, this message goes out to you. I apologize for not knowing your name, but can we hear from the guy on the right?
Dude, I'm just being quiet tonight. I had a long day at work. I'm tired.
Yeah.
Speak up, son. Let your truth be told.
I'll just spread more Kyle Pitts propaganda, even though I'm sick of it. So,
I mean, we don't have underdog drafts for you to do while we're recording, so.
I was doing them, so like, I gotta get in those earlier. They're gonna fill the small ones for Sunday. I'm already maxed out my teams, so like.
You making money on that?
Yeah.
You doing well?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
Yeah. I played
Shoot your
CJ
shot.
Stroud. I played CJ Stroud 2 weeks ago. It was great. I had a great time.
All right.
Terry McLaurin this week to the moon. He's playing the Giants.
Michael says he's learned so much since signing up for the Patreon last year. Remember, heavy is the head that wears the crown. Thanks, Tyler.
So hard to put the crown on with my hair. I was
going to say with your big head and your ego, but
my ego's not that big. I learned today that on Twitter, I saw a little conversation. I almost quote tweeted it. I would have gotten in big trouble. I almost quote tweeted it being like, and I thought my attitude was bad. I thought I had a big ego. Jeez, some people, I mean, I get it. I get it, but like, it's what I've learned. Big lesson I learned from that. You got to remember why you're there. Why are you in the industry? Is it to interact and knock down and interact with other analysts, or is it to interact with the general public? Which one of those two things is going to make you money, get you viewers? Because a lot of analysts don't ask questions. They don't. They don't ask questions on Start, sit on Twitter. They don't ask questions here. Most of the people who ask questions are members of the general public who just play fantasy. That's your audience, not other analysts. So what is a big waste of time is getting into back and forth debates with other analysts on Twitter. You will not expand your audience. You will not gain viewers by doing that. You won't. So that's why I don't do that anymore. I don't do that because it's a waste of time. And it's also getting me away from my core constituency, which is you guys. My viewers, my patrons, and my Twitter followers who just want to come there for fantasy advice. So I appreciate this, Michael. And I'm aware of the crown, and I've tried to be a little bit more responsible with that position over the past few months, and it's been good for me mentally. And I also think it's been good for the advice that I've delivered on the Patreon and focusing on what really matters, which is, as I said, the people here and the people, people who subscribe to the YouTube, people who take your time to view every show, and the people on Patreon who spend their money on my content. And at the end of the day, that's what really matters, not what some other analyst has to say about me on Twitter. That really is not very important. Go ahead.
All right. My thing reset. Did anyone reach out to you about joining the team? 2 or 3 weeks ago, we talked about having some people join the crew.
Okay, so a lot of people reached out, and I don't want to say anything about anyone in particular because it has nothing to do with the quality of people who reached out. But one thing I was not able to find is why adding person X would change anything. What would person X add to the show that would change it? So it was nice to get myself out there to talk to new people and to just kind of brainstorm some ideas for the show. But ultimately, I'm glad I did it. It gave me an opportunity to interact with new people, but I made the decision that I'd actually go in the other direction. I'd go in the direction of producing more content by myself, shortening the live show. This one is going to be one of our longest ones in a while. But in general, shortening the live show, reducing the production complication and number of people on this show, and reducing the show time, and then adding more solo content throughout the week so I can deliver it in a more flexible way that's better for the viewing experience. So yes, many people reached out, like over 2025. And that's why I made the decision that I made. But I'm glad that I did that kind of outreach because it gave me an opportunity to talk to some new people. And I'm an extrovert, so I didn't mind.
Mm-hmm. All right. Get your last questions in the chat if they are not in the next 2 minutes.
We're going to get to the bottom, and then I'm going to close out the show for sure.
Yep. Get your question in the next 2 minutes.
We already had a Tyler malfunction. So
he was telling you to start Trey McBride
that
for the rest
means
of the
that
season.
Tyler is tired.
Over Sam Laporta. Clip it. Come on.
Yeah. Tyler malfunction is very strange.
Mitch just says he's here to keep the party rolling. Got questions for days.
Look, I appreciate everyone who comes into the chat and asks a question. And you can ask as many questions as you want. Please ask a zillion. That's what I would prefer.
Thoughts on Anthony Richardson Dynasty? Obviously, the concussion injury, but his numbers say he's subpar.
Oh, I love
disagree.
him. Yeah,
I disagree
love
with
him.
him saying he's subpar.
Yeah, I love him.
He's only played 16 games of college NFL, but when you watch him, it's electric.
Yeah, Anthony Richardson's at the bottom of that, like Lamar, Lawrence, Tua, Kyler, Richardson tier, but he's still a high-end quarterback asset. The last one in Dynasty, the last high-end quarterback asset.
Until the 2024 class hits.
Yeah, I would assume Drake May would be in that tier with Anthony Richardson, and Caleb Williams would be a tier above.
I would have won this week if I started Howell over Allen. What's your opinion on starting Howell week 11?
I got Howell quarterback 12, but I think I still would start. I just can't. I get it. I have a problem like hitting that button, but I get it. If you want to start Sam Howell, I understand that, but I have Josh Allen ranked higher, and that is not going to change. I'm going to.
He's got the cake matchup, dude. The matchup's even.
That almost worries me. You say the matchup is so cake, but the Giants are so bad that it's going to take the volume down. I actually do not.
I mean, it didn't for Dallas. I'm just going to say that.
It's not the same thing, though. Dallas
wanted to run
is
that
a much better passing game, and also,
of course,
like Washington can just run and win, and they might do that.
We got some fire emojis from Clay.
Pollard.
Thank you.
We've got this weirdo.
Yo, who's that?
This
Who's
weirdo.
that? Yeah.
Oh,
Giant nose, big
I
forehead.
didn't know we had 15-year-old
you
fans.
know it.
How old is
Flesh.
that picture of you?
It's Hutch's friend from school, okay?
2 years.
No way.
2 years.
You look so different.
2 years. I've aged like 6
You look.
years in 2
I
years.
swear you literally look like you like.
I swear to God.
You're not
2 years.
kidding when you tell me that your job is stressful because you look like you've become like so stressed overnight. What was I talking about?
So are either of these guys going to be ruined by their potential coaching staffs?
I don't know. I don't even know what the coaching staffs of any of these teams are going to be. These are all teams that could fire their coaching staff.
I think
There's nothing wrong with the coaching staff of the Giants. There's nothing wrong. The problem is not the coaching staff. The coaching staff of the Giants is fine. I don't know if they're going to fire them or not. But the problem, I don't have a problem with the Giants coaching staff.
their O-line will ruin them.
Yeah.
Instead.
The other two, I don't think those coaching staffs are going to be there.
We could hope not, but really,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Bill Belichick, I think, is the most likely to be gone.
It's just something to think about. All those teams at the top right now that are vying for position are so bad that you're gonna have to hit one of those Ben Johnson Hail Mary kind of hires, or the stock might go down.
Yeah,
a little
I think
bit.
Ben Johnson could be the next coach of the Patriots.
They're pretty sick, honestly. But,
Yeah.
All right. We got 3 last questions. Does Jacobs have 2 good years left? Yes or no?
I'm going to lean no. I already saw the signs of decline. I'm already seeing it, so I'm going to lean no.
Do we like Sam Howell or any rookie coming in this year?
Are we talking about Caleb Williams or Drake May versus Sam Howell? I like those guys a lot better.
I think you even make an argument for Penix if he gets the.
I would expect that there's going to be at least one other quarterback in the draft that I like over Sam Howell, if not 2 other quarterbacks.
There might be 3, for being honest, at this rate.
Yeah, I don't like. I would think that I would take any quarterback drafted in the first round of the NFL draft over Sam Howell. Sam Howell is bad. I don't care what the other Ryan says. Sam Howell is reckless, irresponsible, and is going to lose his job if he continues to play that way.
Scores well for fantasy.
He runs into sacks too, which is bad. You can't blame it all on the offensive line.
JSN or Jordan Addison?
JSN.
Rest of career JSN.
JSN's the better player by far.
Is JSN the one in Seattle? It feels like we're going there. It feels like we're getting
Last week. But JSN is a better player than Jordan Addison. And Justin Jefferson is going nowhere. So Jordan Addison, the upside is the T. Higgins rest of career.
Is he going nowhere?
Justin Jefferson's not going anywhere.
You never know with these wide receivers.
That's not happening.
If Kirk doesn't come back and they don't draft a good QB,
I'm not worried about that. That's not happening. They're never gonna let they still have the 5th-year option, 2 franchise tags. They're never ever gonna get rid of Justin Jefferson.
He'll sit. He'll pull a Jamar Chase and just sit.
I don't think so. I'm not concerned about that. This Amon Ra. This week I'll take Mixon. In Dynasty I'll take Moore. And then for this, I'll take Kyler. I appreciate everyone for watching the show. I would do that trade. I don't want Derrick Henry. I appreciate everyone for watching the show. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I noticed since I turned on subscriber only mode, we had a lot more subscribers this week. So I appreciate everyone who subscribed to ask questions in the chat. Make sure to leave a comment if you're watching this after. Of course, sign up for the Patreon. It's in the top right corner. I also put it here. So make sure to sign up for that. And then, of course, if you're subscribed, you'll be able to see all the rest of the content. All my solo videos. I do a Thursday night preview, releases every Thursday afternoon. A start sit video releases kind of Friday evening. 5 takeaways video every Monday, and then this video. And then you'll have our off-season content schedule, which I'll publish when we get to that. But I want to thank Patrick and Ryan for being here and helping me do the show. And I want to thank everyone in the chat for all of your excellent questions. This was, I think, the best chat we've had in a long time. So I appreciate everyone for that. I'll take Josh Allen there. Yeah. But until next time, I will see you all later. Peace out.